How many bullets you got in you?
16, I think.
The Highwaymen. This is a Netflix movie. It's a real movie, even though it's on Netflix. It begins with the story of the two people who track down the Bonnie and Clyde characters, the real life characters. There's been another movie called Bonnie and Clyde. This is the newest one from Netflix, just came out this month. It begins with Kevin Costner, his character. He's kind of the main law enforcer. Him and Woody Harrelson team up to track down Bonnie and Clyde. The Texas governor at the time asks for their help, and they're not really police officers. They're more like detectives that have been hired by the police station because they're really brutal, and they pretty much go after the bad guys, and they don't really care what happens. They get the job done. They're almost like the good mafia, you could say. They work for the police. They don't really, they don't murder for fun. They murder because they kill because it's the law. They're the law enforcers. That's who Woody Harrelson and Kevin Costner's characters play. They're real life characters. This is based on a true story. This is the story of the police trying to find Bonnie and Clyde, which hasn't been made into a movie yet, which is surprising because I actually found this more fascinating than the original Bonnie and Clyde movie. So this movie, it's kind of a long movie. It feels like it's a long film. There's a lot of driving, of course. That's why it's called The Highwaymen. They're waiting, they're searching, they're talking to people, they're learning a lot about who's, good guys, who's bad guys. And this is during the time when really Bonnie and Clyde were kind of famous in America in a weird way. They've been running away from the law for 2 years and have never gotten caught. The movie shows a lot of scenes where they'll drive up to somebody on the side of the road and just murder them. Bonnie and Clyde have somehow made an alliance with regular people and have also been, just killed random people as well. It's also during the time in American history where the economy is not doing too well. There's a lot of people living in poverty, and Bonnie and Clyde are robbing banks, and I guess the general public feel like they've been robbed. So to see, Bonnie and Clyde rob the banks, it's a weird kind of thing where there's a fan club for these outlaws because they're getting away with it. And the police, the two characters that Woody Harrelson and Kevin Costner play, they don't get caught up in the culture of celebrating these two people. They don't really care about their story. This movie kind of really brings down just the idea of somebody killing somebody else as a bad thing. And there's a moment in the movie towards the end where they find I think it's Clyde's father, I believe, and he tells them, Clyde hasn't always been like this. He's not a black soul. He's not a murderer. He shows a picture of him as a kid, and the police officer is like, I wasn't always a police officer. I wanted to, be a pastor, I think, or a theologian. He wanted to work for the church, in some way, but circumstances has happened, and he was he had to shoot somebody, kill somebody for. He ended up shooting somebody in revenge, and that kind of changed his whole outlook in life. So yeah, the movie definitely makes a point where these people who are murderers and the police people make choices in their life that determine which road they're going down and what kind of people they become. I thought that was a very good part of the script and the story. It made it more about the choices of these characters more than just the insane violence that they do. And the way they showed the violence was very different too. There wasn't a lot of Bonnie and Clyde in this movie. They show up for just very few moments throughout the film, just whenever someone gets shot, and it's not until the end you actually see their face pretty clearly, and that's when they actually die and get caught. So it's a good movie. It's a movie worth watching, especially if you like this kind of history of these two people. And it's a very strange time in America, just seeing this sort of thing happen. I know, like today, these two people would never be celebrated like they were in this film back in the day in America. But times were a lot different back then, and there was a lot of factors going on. But this movie did a really good job at showing the backstories of the police officers trying to catch these two criminals and just their whole life and what they went through. And it was really enjoyable. I thought it was, I think it's the best movie adaptation of the Bonnie and Clyde story I've seen yet. And it's a Netflix movie, but it could be in movie theaters. It's a very good quality film. Definitely check it out. I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10. Definitely worth watching. And let me know what you think about it in the comments. And I'll see you next time.